fun when I can't see myself. So Anderson Vacations is a Canadian company. We are Calgary based and we work very closely with our partners at North South Travel. So they work with us to put packages together all over Canada. And so that's every province in Canada as well as the territories. And there's never been a better time than right now to start thinking about travel in your own backyard. Besides the obvious reason, of course, there's lots of other great reasons too. One is a little bit less crowds, although I am going to probably contradict that a little bit because I live on Vancouver Island and it's starting to get a little busy with locals. And I did see an advertisement today for exploring BC, exploring local. So that's fantastic. You're going to find a little bit more difficulty finding space, I think, as we move forward. But what we're going to do on this little journey is we're going to start on Vancouver Island, so fairly close to home, and then we're going to just journey a little bit further away each time with the different destinations. So we're going to visit 4 destinations. Now, all of the places I'm going to talk about can be done as a self-drive holiday, except one. Churchill, Manitoba is not a self-drive, but the other 3 you can do as a self-drive, and that would mean you would arrive in the destination, pick up a rental car, and the accommodation would be taken care of, as well as all of the attractions. So it's a lovely little package that we work with our experts at North South Travel to put together for you. So as we go on this little journey, you'll pick up little pieces of information. I'm a bit of a storyteller, so I'll tell you some things that I've experienced on my journeys and hopefully inspire you just a little bit. My name is Darcy Guarderas, and I too am the Director of Business Development, but for Anderson Vacations. I've been in the tourism industry for over 30 years, and I'm so blessed because I've been able to travel Canada from coast to coast to coast, because we do have 3 coasts in Canada, and that's just recently been recognized, and we have some incredible product on our 3rd coast as well. So let's get started on our little journey. Now, of course, I can't talk about every single place in Canada, and I did choose 4 of my absolute favorites. So you're going to hear lots of oohing and awing from me because I love these places so much. Let's start really close to home on Vancouver Island. So I'm going to do a short little culinary journey of the island, which of course I love food and wine, so it's very fitting for me to do this. And of course, you know where Vancouver Island is because I think most of our guests are local, close by, on the mainland. But Vancouver Island is 460 kilometers long and about 80 kilometers wide. So it's quite large. And so if you're looking at this map, on the very bottom where you see Victoria, between Victoria and Parksville, it's not that long of a distance, but that's what I'm going to focus on because there's so many cool things to do just in that little piece of Vancouver Island. I'm not going to touch on Tofino or Campbell River or up to Telegraph Cove where all the whales and things are and the indigenous culture and so on. Just that one little piece at the bottom, and I'll just share some really great things you can do. Maybe a weekend or a 3 or 4 day getaway. Let's start with, of course, the heart of Vancouver Island, Victoria, this incredible, diverse, historical, wonderful city. When you see the picture on the left, of course, the harbor, that feeling of walking down in the harbor, it's pretty quiet right now, so that's kind of nice. People are definitely social distancing, and all of the programs that we offer are definitely include social distancing, safety measures in place. The car rentals are all sanitized. If you do decide to travel on any of these packages or to these destinations in the future with us, we will make sure that everything is absolutely safe. So you don't have to worry about anything like that. So back to Victoria. So walking down the harbor, one of my favorite things about Victoria is an absolutely walkable city. You don't even really need the car the first couple of days when you're in Victoria, but the restaurants, the shops, just the feeling, the sense of peace that you have when you arrive in Victoria is so lovely. From Victoria, of course, you must do Butchart Gardens, and we all know about it, but did you know that going there every single season is a completely different experience. So every time you come over to Victoria, you've got to visit Butchart Gardens because in the fall, people ask me all the time, what's your favorite? And I can't decide, but oh, I really do love the fall with the fall colors. But one of the really interesting culinary things that's unique to Butchart Gardens that many people are not aware of is the gourmet picnic baskets. Really amazing experience. You can pre-book these and actually have a picnic basket with gourmet foods, a bottle of wine if you like, right within the gardens. So it takes a beautiful experience walking to the gardens to the next level. And of course they have their high tea, which is a lovely experience as well. Now, the iconic high tea in Victoria, of course, is at the Fairmont Empress Hotel in Victoria with their house-made scones that are absolutely amazing. This is a really traditional high tea, a little bit more expensive than the others, stepping back in time with a piano player in the corner, lovely dainties. But every time I see this photo, it reminds me of a little something. The vines on the outside of the hotel, they're so gorgeous in the fall when they turn red. Well, a couple of years ago, they decided to take these vines down to clean the hotel. And a lot of the locals weren't very happy about that because it is iconic having these beautiful vines on the side of the building. But regardless, they decided to take them down. When they took the vines down, what do you think they found? They found all kinds of jewelry hiding inside the vines. So of course they were scratching their heads. How could this be? Why would this jewelry be in there? Well, it turns out over the years, many, many years, long ago, before the hotel had air conditioning, all of the guests would open the hotel room windows to get the lovely breeze off the ocean. And unbeknownst to them, a family of raccoons was living in the vines. So the raccoons would come into the rooms and steal the jewelry. So now the hotel is tasked with the job of finding all the owners of the jewelry. And some of it already the owners have passed. So they're looking for family members to return the jewelry to those people. So it's like a full-time job. A really interesting thing. And I think that's what's so great about visiting these cities is if you go on some of the tours, you hear these wonderful stories that you can walk away with. Another wonderful garden in Victoria is called Abkhazi Gardens. Now, most people don't even know this exists. And if you're in Victoria, you can drive right past it and not even see it. I drove by it 2 or 3 times before I finally found it. And I really want to point out that most of the photographs in this presentation are my own photographs. So they're not always the best quality, but they are true to the experience because I did take them while I was there. What's really special about this garden is they have a Moroccan tea, which is really unique, where you have the dried Turkish olives and you have a lamb tagine, the dessert in the top corner, the blood oranges with a little bit of honey and cinnamon. It's like nothing I've ever had before. And there's a lovely story for the gardens. From the owners of the gardens who are no longer with us, but it's a couple, it's a love story or a romance where they were together and then they were separated and then they finally found one another and spent the rest of their lives together. So it's a tribute to them, and it is just an absolutely lovely afternoon thing to do when you're in Victoria. But if you're not a tea drinker, and maybe you're a beer drinker, that's okay because Victoria is considered the craft beer hub of Canada. And again, it's completely walkable. So how fabulous is that? You can go from pub to pub and maybe try a peanut butter beer or a raspberry beer, go to Swan's, go to Spinnaker's, all these lovely breweries you can wander around, and they also have fabulous food as well. I always say that the heart to any city is a foodie tour. I have done, oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how many I've done, but a couple of years ago, I kind of got on this stint where I really loved doing foodie tours and exploring them. And I did about 9 of them in a span of 4 months. And Victoria's foodie tour was in that span. And I really think it was one of the top foodie tours that I've ever done because it brings you to the heart of the city where you're with the locals, of course now socially distanced, but you're with the locals, you can try the foods that they eat and have the beverages and wander around and go into a little Italian bakery and meet the little man who works there. He's from Milan. He's sharing the stories about the recipes that the traditional recipes that his mother made that he's brought from Italy to Canada. And that's really heartwarming. And it's a great way to just explore the little city like that. Once you head out of Victoria, there's lots of other things to do, lots of great restaurants in Victoria, Hermance Jazz Club, lots and lots of things to do. But as you head up island, going south, one of my favorite stops is Marydale Cidery and Distillery. It's located in the Cowichan Valley, and they have farm crafted ciders that are absolutely out of this world. And the best thing ever is you can be drinking a cider, and then their restaurant has incredible food absolute favorite is the chicken pot pie, which is made with their local cider. And all of the apples are grown there. They're not diluted, so they're very fresh and wonderful. You can walk through the orchard, and they have gin, vodka, and brandy as well. So it's a wonderful stop on your way up the island. Then the next stop along the way that I love is the Blue Grouse Winery. I'm actually considered a member of the winery. I'm a member of the Groutier, I think the club, Groutier Club. So I get a few bottles of wine per year because I love this winery so much. Now the island has 37 wineries. Lots of them are fabulous. I focus on this one because it's so lovely and it's in such a great location. When you go in here, they make you feel very comfortable. It's very warm. You can do a wine tasting. It's about $5 for a wine tasting, but if you buy a bottle, and I promise you, you're gonna buy a bottle, they will waive that $5 fee. You can sit in this lovely, you can see in the top right-hand photograph, you can see this little area where you can sit. There's an indoor-outdoor fireplace and it overlooks the vineyards. It's lovely. Another favorite that I have is Averill Creek. I don't have a slide on that one, but another must stop because you can bring your own picnic basket, purchase a bottle of wine, sit in the lovely gardens outside and just enjoy the view and the hummingbirds flying all around you. On your way up a little bit further, you definitely want to make a stop in Duncan and do the totem pole walking tour. There's a guided tour you can do. And you'll actually have a chance to see over 40 totem poles, and this is the largest collection of totem poles in all of North America. My favorite stop of all is West Home Tea Farm. And this lovely couple, they built this with their own hands. The lovely lady on the left, her name is Margaret, and she's actually an artist. She does slab pottery. So when you go inside the tea farm, or inside the tea house, the entire place is filled with her gorgeous slab pottery, and you will be drinking out of it and doing tea ceremonies. You can do a matcha tea ceremony. They have over 100 organic teas shipped from worldwide, but they also grow their own teas. It overlooks this beautiful meadow, and the husband's name is Victor, and he's an eclectic, interesting, wonderful character who will come to your table and have a conversation with you. I think I've been here a dozen times in the last year. It's just a wonderful place to escape to. Really important to make a reservation now, though, because they are being very careful about social distancing. Of course, on Vancouver Island, you've got to go to Coombs, to the Old Country Market. I was there last weekend. It was fabulous as usual. The world famous goats on the roof. They have a new donut place with the best donuts in the world, ice cream shop, a fabulous Italian restaurant. I did have lunch there. It was absolutely incredible, with a garden. It's called Cuckoo's. The garden, lovely plum trees around you. And they have a Mexican food truck there as well. So it's not as busy as it normally would be in July. So it's a great time to come and explore the island and visit Coombs Old Country Market on your way. So that gives you a little taste of just a little portion of Vancouver Island. But maybe if you're in Vancouver and you want to skip over here, it's giving you a couple of ideas of things that you can see. So if you're interested in that, just reach out to your favorite travel professional at North South and they can help you with that, make those arrangements for you. So next stop on our tour is going to be another place that's near and dear to my heart, the Yukon. In fact, today I just booked my 5th trip there. I'm going on August 25th of this year for 5 days, 5th time in 3 years. And usually I do winter vacations to the Yukon because I'm a bit of a winter girl, having lived in Winnipeg for most of my life. And I do kind of miss it. I didn't think I would, but I do. But I also go in the summertime. So I'm doing an August experience. These are just a few shots of some of my favorite people that I've met from the Yukon or have traveled with me to the Yukon. It's really easy to get up there. Most people start in Whitehorse and head up to Dawson City, but it's very easy. The national airline going up to the Yukon is Air North. And if you're as old as me, you might remember Ward Air way back in the day. That's what I always think of when I fly Air North. It's great service. They give you freshly made meals that are included in your airfare. And the very best thing of all is the warm chocolate chip cookies that smell so good when they deliver them to you. This is just a little map of the Yukon so you can see exactly where it's located. And we're so fortunate in BC because we are allowed into the Yukon. There are many provinces in Canada that are not allowed in yet. So we can now travel up there as of right away, anytime soon. And guess what? Whitehorse also has an incredible food scene as well. Some of my favorites listed here. I don't know how they ended up with all these fabulous chefs moving up to Whitehorse, but they've got, I think, the best oyster house in all of Canada called the Wayfarer Oyster House. And then they've got this restaurant called Antoinette's, which is a Caribbean fusion. So just a couple of examples of how exotic and different things can be in a place that's so remote. Absolutely awesome. When you go to the Yukon, of course, you're looking for wildlife. Everyone's hoping to see some wildlife out in the wild, and that's a definite possibility. I have seen a moose while I was snowmobiling, and several other animals. I did see a lynx crossing the highway, but there's a wonderful place called the Yukon Wildlife Preserve. It's located just outside of Whitehorse, and this is where they care for Yukon's injured and orphaned wildlife. So if a mom has left a baby behind and someone finds it, they will bring it here. Or if an animal is injured by an automobile accident, they will bring it here. And so these are actually my own photographs. It's a huge place where these animals can roam freely. I was very fortunate to get this close to take these photographs. But it's a beautiful, beautiful place. And the whole idea is to help these animals recover and put them back in the wild. However, if they're not able to do that, they do keep them at the preserve for the rest of their lives. And they are living in a luxury resort, let me assure you. You can do a fabulous walking tour here, and the guides are phenomenal. And not only will you see moose and Dall sheep and bighorn sheep, Arctic fox, muskox, and then you hear the stories of these animals, even not only the history of the animal, but the story of where did this particular animal come from? Where did they find it? And what are their hopes for this animal? So it's a really beautiful experience. You've got to go dog sledding. So a winter experience, you can go up here if you're an animal lover, a dog lover, you can get up close and personal with these dogs. These are the most well cared for, loved animals you can possibly imagine. If you want to drive a dog sled, you can learn how to mush. I had a client last year who went up and did a 4 or 5 day package, learning how to mush her own dog team. And it really is about connecting with nature and disconnecting from your phone. The only reason you need a phone up here is so that you can take some pictures. Oh, before I go into this next slide, I do want to mention something to you. With the Yukon, if you're interested in traveling there in a winter package, but you're from the BC area or Vancouver area and you're concerned that you don't have the proper clothing, you don't have to worry about that at all. We can make arrangements to have clothing rentals for you. They're the best of the best, from the top of your head to the tip of your toes, nice and warm. You don't have to worry about a thing. That can all be arranged for you before you arrive in Whitehorse, waiting for you in your hotel. Now, another wonderful experience in Whitehorse, whether it's winter or summertime, is Lumel Glass Blowing Studios. Now, when you hear of glass blowing studios, you think, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to watch someone blow glass for me. I'm going to see a demonstration. Well, that is not the case. The lovely lady in the top right-hand corner, her name is Lou, and this is her studio. It is dedicated to the memory of her daughter, and so it's a beautiful, has this beautiful warm feel to it. You just feel like you're supposed to be there. She welcomes you in like your family, and you get to learn how to blow glass. And if you look in the bottom left-hand picture, those two glass little giant marbles, those are actually paperweights that I made on my 4th visit there. You can make a bowl and lovely flowers, all kinds of wonderful things. And it's quite a transition from being outside in the cold and then walking into this warm place. It's a must do for everyone visiting Whitehorse. This is just a photo from a cell phone. It's not the best photo, and my purpose wasn't to put in the best possible photo. It's just to show you that with my cell phone, right in Whitehorse, not out at an Aurora Borealis viewing platform where there's no night pollution. This is right from town with all kinds of light pollution. You can see the gorgeous photograph that you can take. So it's just lovely. Before heading up to Dawson City, you definitely want to visit Kluane National Park and see Mount Logan's, Canada's largest peak. Also, this is the area where there is the most genetically diverse number of grizzly bears in the world. Hopefully you won't run into one on your own. And then of course, some beautiful lakes like Kathleen Lake, but it's about nature, wildlife, again, disconnecting, and we can all use that. That's me just about to get into a small plane. I think one of the best things I've ever done in the Yukon is a flight seeing experience. You jump in this little plane and you head out, and you can see all kinds of wonderful things. I think my next slide will explain it perfectly. We jumped in the plane, we left from that dock, and as we were flying along, we could see these beautiful lakes, the greenery. There were moose down below us, some Dall sheep on the mountain tops, absolutely gorgeous. And 10 minutes later, this is the exact same trip. 10 minutes into the trip, we went from blue, like tropical blue water, to the photo on the right over a glacier, which to me looked like Mars. What an incredible experience. In a 45-minute flight, we saw all of this and more. So that's a little taste of the Yukon. I could tell you a lot more about some lake lodges that are up there and Dawson City and the gold rush and all those things, but we'll save that for another time. Let's take some time to talk a little bit about Churchill, Manitoba. Now, I know this has been on a lot of people's bucket list for a long time, and people have been thinking, you know what, this is that trip that I know I'm going to do it, but I'm going to wait. I'll put it on my list later on because it's a little bit more expensive, but I'm going to do it someday. There has never been a better time than now to visit Churchill. All of the international guests are not coming. So there is now availability for this fall. There's some availability for summertime, for the summertime experiences that I'll talk about. And then also for the fall, October, November, there is some availability. Normally you have to book Churchill a year in advance. In fact, there's even some special pricing and deals. We've had some summer promos in the last few weeks that have been as low as $15.99 a person for a 5-night experience, including some rail and a few things. So if you're considering doing this at some point, you might want to reach out to your North-South travel consultant and ask a few questions about Churchill if you feel inspired after this presentation. It's located in Manitoba, as I mentioned, and it's directly up from Winnipeg. So Winnipeg is the gateway city. So from where you are, you would fly into Winnipeg, and then you could do two things. You can take via rail to Churchill and then fly back, or you can fly there and back. It depends on how much time you have. I like the idea of taking via rail just one way. I wouldn't do it return, but one way, that takes about 48 hours, and then flying is about 2 hours. So train up, flying back, easy peasy. Once you're up in Churchill, it's just a small community. There's not a lot to see in Churchill. They do have a wonderful museum there, but the focus is definitely on some Indigenous culture, some storytelling and so on. Lovely little community. If you go in the summertime and you're lucky enough to see this, not only the polar bear, because in the summertime, the experience really is focused on beluga whales because Churchill is actually the beluga whale capital of the world. They are considered the canaries of the sea, and that's what you're really going for. There is a good possibility you will see polar bears, not quite as abundance as you would in the fall, in October, November, early December, but you will see them most likely. But it's also, besides the beluga whales, it's about the wildflowers. So for photographers, it's a fantastic time to go in July and August. And as I mentioned, there was still some space available for this summer. It is very raw. I did go in a boat when I did my July experience, and we saw bears in the water just like this, a mother and a baby bear, and they came within just a couple feet of our boat. So we had got some of the most incredible photographs. One of the interesting facts was that I thought polar bears were going to be like snowy white all the time, but it makes more sense in the summertime when it's a bit dirty that they were a little bit gray. They had their dirty little paws and they were a little bit gray. So that was kind of interesting to me when I got up there. Now it really is about the beluga whales, as I mentioned. And I did go in the summertime. If you see in this photograph, the mums and dads are the large white beluga whales, and the gray ones are the babies. So when you're up there, there's many ways you can experience the beluga whales, from a larger Zodiac boat to a kayak, even a stand-up paddleboard. At one time you could snorkel with them, but you can no longer do that. But you can lay on a floaty mat that's pulled behind a boat with a snorkel mask and put your face in the water to see them as well. When I was there, I was so blessed to see the beluga whales. And I did have an excursion. It was an evening excursion that I did go out with a group, and I traveled with my traveling companion. We got in the canoes and we went out searching for the beluga whales, and we were not disappointed. But it's a lot of work to paddle in a kayak, especially if you haven't done it for a very long time. The guide on our tour could see that I was very excited about this experience and came to me at the end of the experience and said, you know, Darcy, we have an opening tomorrow morning at about 7 a.m., but we only have one spot. Would you like to join our tour? So I said, of course. And I snuck out of my room, left my roommate sleeping, snuck out early in the morning to join this tour the next morning. Well, I joined a brand new group and they were all fresh and ready to go. But little did I know from canoeing the night before, I was a bit tired and my arms just didn't have the strength, so I couldn't keep up with the group. So I convinced the tour leader to go with the rest of the group and just leave me sort of close to the shore in my little kayak. I promised I wouldn't go too far. And while I sat in my kayak and no one was around, I had read before I went to Churchill that if you sing to the beluga whales, they will come. So with no one around, because I'm the worst singer ever, I started to belt out my favorite song from The Sound of Music as loud as I could. And sure enough, the beluga whales started to surface all around me. Now they had been close to me before, but now they were really close. And in fact, a beluga came up behind my kayak and started to bump the back of my kayak, which I'm not sure, it was absolutely the most terrifying thing, but the most exhilarating experience I've ever had with wildlife in my entire life. And I do hope you have an experience very similar to that. Another wonderful shot with their beautiful smiles. They're just friendly, they're not shy, they come right up close to you. Another great way to do it is I mentioned the fall. If you're looking at really seeing the polar bears and other wildlife, October, November, early December is really the best time to go. And there's several ways to do Churchill. If you go online and you start searching for Churchill, you're going to become overwhelmed because there's so many ways to do it. And that's why it's so important to work with your travel professional from North South, because they'll match you with the exact product that works for you. Whether you're a photographer, whether you're just looking to be in a buggy, do you want to be out in the tundra and sleep on the tundra? Do you want to stay in a lovely luxury lodge? It depends on what you're looking for. And this is just one of the experiences where you're out on the tundra buggy looking for the wildlife. Now I must tell you that the last time that I did this was in the fall time, and I brought my husband along. And see how the bear is leaning at the back there, sort of climbing up? Underneath where those people are standing is actually a grate or a grill that you can see through. Well, my husband was standing out there and the bear was about the same place. And my husband bent down on one knee and he exhaled. So you could see his crystallized breath. And the bear caught wind of it, and the bear came over and was just nose to nose with him and had this incredibly magical moment. I don't know what possessed him to do that, but it was really, really neat experience. And hopefully you'll get up close and personal just like this when the bears are close by. If you're very lucky, you might see a mama and a baby, and I think that's what everybody's looking for. That's the ultimate goal, is to find that and get a photograph, that's for sure. And the Northern Lights, Churchill has 300 days of Northern Lights, so it's a great possibility that you would see them up there as well. This is actually the lodge that you can sleep in out on the tundra. So it has a dining car, a lounge car, and 2 sleeping cars. So it's really unique and different. I think I have a photograph of it. No, I don't have a photograph. Before I jump to the next one, in this experience here, when you sleep out on the tundra, you're out there for about 4 days. And when you wake up in the morning, there's the possibility of having the wildlife nearby. And I'm not talking just polar bears, Arctic fox, ptarmigan. It is a truly beautiful experience. We have other lodges that are actually have the polar bears. You're on the ground with the bears. So if you're a photographer, you're actually face to face with the bears. So lots and lots of options if Churchill is something that's been on your list for a while. So let me look at my timing, how we're doing here. Excellent. We have one more stop on our inspirational journey across Canada. So we started on the West Coast on Vancouver Island, and we jumped up and we did a little bit of the Yukon. Now we've stopped at Churchill, a little bit further east, and this will be our last stop on the East Coast, one of my absolute favorites, Nova Scotia. Now Atlantic Canada is beautiful, and if you're going there, I do suggest that you visit Nova Scotia, but make it longer and visit all the other places as well, because they're all fabulous. But when it comes to food and seafood, I'm a huge fan of seafood and Nova Scotia, absolutely. So again, another little map so you can see where it is. It's quite a distance from where we are in BC. So I always suggest that you break up the trip, maybe stop in Toronto, spend a couple of days there, or even maybe stop in Winnipeg, because Winnipeg's an awesome little city that has lots to offer as well. Or maybe do that little Churchill jaunt up and then come back down and do Nova Scotia. Halifax is this incredible, vibrant, full of life little city. If you like music, this is the place to go. It doesn't matter what night of the week that you're in Halifax, you will find a pub with live music. They have sporting events, theater, shopping, lots of little things to see. Of course, the Citadel on the right-hand side, you can walk up and do a tour around. Lower Deck, fabulous, fabulous little city, wonderful, wonderful restaurants. And of course, they've got the lots of little museums and things to visit there as well. I mentioned that I'm a seafood girl. If you're an oyster person, if you live on the West Coast and you think we have great oysters here, I challenge you to try an oyster on the East Coast as well. The Cape Britons, they're sweet and briny and combination of everything wonderful. But if you're an oyster person, this is the place to have oysters. And of course, Prince Edward Island is not too far away, so I'm sure they get some of their oysters from there as well. But lobster, who doesn't think of Nova Scotia lobster when they think of Nova Scotia? Did you know that in 1977, the largest lobster in the world was caught in Nova Scotia? It was 44 pounds. And Nova Scotia has lobster season all year round. And right now, you can buy a lobster on the side of the road in Nova Scotia for about between $3 and $5 per pound. I have a very good friend who lives there. So I'm always asking, what's the lobster going for now? But if you want to buy lobster here locally and you're going to a grocery store, you can do that. And the prices are really quite great right now. Just one tip when you're looking at those lobsters in the tank. If you see those long red antennae, they're kind of bent back on this lobster, make sure those are full and long. If they are missing or chopped off, they're not fresh. They should be long and full, and that's an indicator that your lobster is fresh. Now, as soon as this is done, I'm gonna go find me some lobster because that looks delicious. Now, I love to dive into the history of every town that I go to. I like to eat my way through, but I also like to learn about the history. And one of of course, the most iconic things that had happened in Halifax was, I believe it was 1917, there was an explosion there, the Halifax explosion. There was these two ships in the harbor. One was coming in, one was going. One was a French armory ship that had explosives. The other, I believe, was a Norwegian ship. And about 10 o'clock in the morning, these ships passed each other in the harbor and they rubbed. And unbeknownst to anyone else, the French ship had the explosives on it and a spark was lit when those two ships collided. And a fire started on the French ship. Now, no one knew what was happening. So all the locals started heading down to the pier to see what was going on because they saw the fire. Many people were looking out of their homes, out of their windows, looking down at the pier, not knowing that the largest explosion ever was about to happen. And if you see the picture in the bottom right, not the best quality picture, I do apologize, but it is a picture of a piece of the anchor from one of those ships that they found over 3 kilometers away from the explosion site. Now, this explosion was extremely important in the history of Nova Scotia. The Canadian National Institute for the Blind was created right after this tragedy because so many people were looking out the windows of their homes and the glass imploded in, and there was over 1,000 people that were blinded that day. Many lives lost, but many amazing stories of people being saved and bravery and wonderful things like that. So absolutely incredible. At that time, right after the explosion, there was a terrible snowstorm. So it was just one thing after the other. But the city of Boston actually sent up every doctor, medic, student learning to be a medical professional, anyone they could find. They put them on a train to send them up to Halifax to help them. And as a thank you for that, Halifax has been sending their most beautiful Christmas tree they can find every year for over 100 years. They have sent a Christmas tree down to Boston as a thank you. So when you get to Halifax, you've got to delve more into the history of this incredible city. I mentioned foodie tours in Victoria. Well, coast to coast to coast, definitely you must do a foodie tour there. You've got to have the iconic lobster roll, the best thing ever. And they have wonderful donairs that are like traditional to Halifax, that they're different from anywhere else in Canada. Instead of using the traditional tzatziki, they use a condensed milk sauce. It's kind of sweet. It's amazing. There's little breweries you visit. And again, it's the heart of the city. The heart to the heart is through your stomach. And that's what I believe anyway. From Halifax, you've got to head to the South Shore. And again, we can't cover all of Nova Scotia, so I'm going to give you just a little taste of some of the things close to Halifax that you can do, but there's so much more. It's about the history, the villages, the sea-inspired artisans that you will meet along the way. It's absolutely gorgeous. Again, these are my photographs. This is Peggy's Cove, a sleepy little fishing village where you can have a lobster lunch. And the most iconic lighthouse in all of Nova Scotia is here. So it's a must stop on your self-drive vacation as you're touring around. And from there, I do suggest that you stop in Lunenburg. It's a natural progression. You can't miss Lunenburg. It's actually considered the most colorful city in all of Atlantic Canada, or town, I should say, township. Most people think that Newfoundland is the most colorful place, and it's beautiful and very colorful, but actually Lunenburg has the title of the most colorful town. It's lovely. You can do a walking tour here. This is the home of the Blue Nose. And so if the Blue Nose is in port, you can actually see it. And if you're lucky enough, you could even go on it. Wonderful shops. And like I said, a wonderful walking tour and a phenomenal brewery here. Not a brewery, I'm sorry, a distillery called Ironworks. And what's really unique about this distillery is that they kind of sort of tip their hats to the pirates. Remember when rum and the pirate ships used to be in the barrels on the ships, and it would rock and roll in the barrels, and they thought it made a really lovely flavor. So all of their rum goes in barrels in a boat out to sea. So it's constantly rocking. And a few years back, one of those boats actually got loose, and all the barrels came out and were floating in the water. So when they got all the barrels back, they called that batch of rum Shipwreck Rum. And I was lucky enough to get a couple of bottles of that, one for me and one for my dad. Really, really fun. So that gives you, let me see how we did for time. We did pretty good. We did really good. That was a little tour across Canada, a few places just to inspire you. And as I mentioned before, please do reach out to your North-South travel consultant. And hopefully Kemi will come back on here and we can maybe have a few questions if there were any in the chat box.
Hello, I'm back. You can see me, hopefully hear me okay. Wow, Darcy, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. So many ideas, so much inspiration. Thank you for sharing. Even the tidbits on Vancouver Island, there's places I didn't know about, the tea farm and the was it Apothecary Gardens? Excuse my pronunciation. But really, really cool. And your amazing stories with beluga whales, that is just so incredible. Really, we do live in such an amazing and diverse country, and I think with everything going on in the world right now, it's giving a lot of people the opportunity to really reflect and think about travels within, closer to home and in our own country that we can do in the next little while. So thank you so much for sharing. I had a couple of questions that were submitted in advance, and if anyone else has any other questions, please just feel free to type them in the chat. I have one question here. Do you have any wilderness resorts that we could book?
Actually, we do. We do have wilderness resorts in BC as well. We work with a few companies, a few resorts that are bear watching and fishing lodges and things like that, and a few spa resorts as well. And then we do have some, like I mentioned in Churchill, there's actually a couple of the lodges there that are really focused on wildlife for sure.
Great. And one client asked about if do you include flight? So I guess I could even probably answer this. That the Anderson packages don't per se include them, but we would be able to book them. Just so obviously your North-South travel advisor would be able to help with those.
Absolutely. There are a few packages, like the Churchill packages, that when you're going to some of the remote resorts, that the local flights would be included. But for the flights from where you are to getting to Manitoba, yeah, you definitely want to work with your travel professional.
Perfect. And someone asked, Vancouver Island, what does a sample package look like that we could actually collaborate on to actually book? Because obviously you shared a lot of great ideas for things to do during the day, but a lot of those, they're wondering if it's part of the package or it'd be more accommodation and transfers, or how does it work?
We have a couple of ways to do it. So you can do Vancouver Island as a self-drive. So arriving in Victoria and then picking up the car rental, and then we can arrange the accommodation and all the attractions for you. But we actually have a tour, believe it or not, in October. And you know what, I should have the dates in front of me and I should know because I'm actually hosting the tour. I think it's around the 6th of October. It's a 4-night, 5-day package. And all the things that I talked about, the reason we created this itinerary is because I live on the island and my favorite thing to do is explore it. So it's all the places that I truly love. So I said one day, can I create an itinerary of things that I love? And so we created an actual fully escorted tour. So I'll be escorting it. It'll be a small group tour with lots of social distancing. And we're going to do all those things that we talked about today, but more things. And you know, you can tell that I like oysters. So we might do a few things like maybe shuck some oysters on the beach and a few things like that. So we can put it all together. It's fully customizable as an fully customizable as a self-drive. And then we have the package as well, which has a couple of nights at Tinamera Resort with dip and dine. Amazing.
Sign me up. That's great. I was fortunate enough 2 summers ago, I went over to Newfoundland and I did a self-drive round trip from St. John's, spent about a week driving around, and I was just blown away at how stunning it was and how crystal clear the water was. I think St. John, so many people associate with the foggy, you know, because most of the year it's typically foggy and can be quite windy. But I went in the July, and I think if you go in the summer window, it was just, we had perfect blue sky every day, and it was just spectacular. It was like crystal clear, like Mediterranean kind of water. I really couldn't believe it, and the people were lovely. But out of the 4 places you discussed tonight, Nova Scotia is definitely kind of high on my list. The Maritimes, Prince Edward Island as well. You cover Prince Edward Island, we can book, can't we?
Yeah, we can actually. We any places in Canada we can book, and of course for Aurora Borealis, if people are looking for Northern Lights, many people don't know that Yellowknife in the Northwest Territories is the best place in the world. Most people think it's Iceland or Greenland, but it's actually right here in our own backyard. And I think it's really important for us to stop and think for a minute how important it is right now to support local. It's never been more important than it is right now. So I know that when I talk to our local partners in these places, they're just so grateful to have guests come and visit them. And as the provinces start to open up, as long as we keep doing what we're supposed to be doing, and as they start to open up, you find that pretty much most people are just so welcoming and they're so happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We have one question in the chat here. Are there opportunities to see none of it?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, definitely. And I'm so lucky because I just had the pleasure of going there last year. So I was in Iqaluit and it's lovely. You can definitely do that. We have several packages. A lot of it, again, is based on wildlife, you know, seeing hopefully the narwhals and, you know, other wildlife. There's tours where you can go along I think they're called Water's Edge tours, where you go along the ocean right along the edge. Unfortunately, there wasn't an opportunity to see polar bears there, which surprised me because there are polar bears there, but they haven't gotten quite. I would say Nunavut's a little bit more raw so far. It's not as touristy as a lot of the other northern places, but we do definitely do packages there.
Great, thank you so much. Just before we wrap up, I just had a quick interactive poll that I'm going to activate here. I would be grateful if everyone on the chat, can you see that now, Darcy? Does it come up on your screen?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Great, yeah, we'd really appreciate if you would be able to fill that in for us. Just a quick 5-question multiple choice. But if any of you are looking for whether or not it's a quick BC getaway or a bigger trip into other parts of Canada this year, the fall or next year, we really would love to help you. I know most of you already work with your North-South Travel Advisor, but for some of you, if you haven't quite yet connected with someone in our team, I will be following up with everyone tomorrow with a link to this recording and also a link to a post we've created called The Best of BC, featuring some of our hotel highlights for staycations. So please feel free to get back to me if you're interested in being connected with one of our advisors to help you out with something in the upcoming days and weeks and months to come. But Darcy, thank you again so much for your time tonight. Thank you for inspiring us all and showcasing some amazing opportunities to travel within Canada. And I really hope that we can help many of you. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay well, and connect with you all soon.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so much. Thanks, Darcy.
My pleasure.
I'll just leave this up for everyone to finish. Thank you so much for filling it in.
My
What's your
pleasure.
travel temperature? There's a lot of different feelings right now. But at least it's so nice that we can have these interactive ways to engage and even be inspired in our own homes as we can think about what we want to do moving forward.
It's incredible. We're so lucky that we have this medium to be able to communicate. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to share some of the things I love so much.
See, you're so passionate about Canada. It's such an amazing place. I feel so fortunate to be living here. It's been 8 years now. Actually, I just celebrated my 8th anniversary a couple of weekends ago. And
do you have your citizenship yet?
I'd submitted all of that and did the test in February, but then with COVID, they've stopped doing the ceremonies. So I have to hold tight until they start activating those again.
Oh, it's a wonderful experience. My husband got his, and it's a really touching experience.
I have to make sure I learn the national anthem.
Okay.
I'm just keeping this up for anyone who's finishing the poll, but thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We hope you can join us again for future events in our travel dreaming series. And thanks again to you, Darcy, and Anderson Vacations for being such a great partner of ours.
Okay, have a lovely evening.
Great, thank you everyone. Take care.
Yeah.
Liking your top, Kemi. It looks like one of your mom's tops.
Tina made it for me.
Did she really?
Well, she gave it to me because I only gave her a week's notice. So she was like, "You didn't give me enough to make you clothes." So she's trying to give me all these. I love it.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. She made
Yeah.
you that lovely dress too, didn't she?
Yeah, she's really good, and she made a really beautiful silk gown as well, dressing gown.
Aww. How are they doing with Royston? You look
Good.
super cute.
Yeah, he's so cute.
Little cheek. So we're talking about Kemi's brother for the people who are still on the call. Aww.
Oh, Ravenly's on there, Jinx. Okay, people are. Karen, seeing the result. Did you fill in the poll?
I filled in the poll. I want to travel within Canada. I want to go anywhere, quite frankly.
You're getting ready now. You're ready.
I know. I took a one-day flight to Edmonton, which was
Oh, yes.
the Air Canada promo thing, just so they could show us their protocols for flying, which was very interesting. And I've shared it with the rest of the team at North South Travel that I felt very safe traveling, and you've just flown internationally, so you know what I mean. It was more, my concerns are more about people, like passengers, being a little bit stupid about their masks. I saw people with their masks on their forehead, underneath their chin, their mouth covered but not their nose.
Not on your flight though, with the industry people.
No, on my flight with the industry people. So it was a little surprising. It was kind of like, you guys are a bit laissez-faire about this whole mask thing. I had mine firmly over my nose and mouth. So it's a bit disappointing. Wow. Yeah, it's disappointing when you see people being stupid, but you know what? You're responsible for your own safety, right? So yeah. I washed my hands. I had my mask on, so it was less of a concern. But certainly the aircraft was spotless.
Yeah, cleaner than you've ever.
Spotless. I've never been an aircraft that clean.
I would agree. I just figured out. I did 5 flights, and the airport, the plane, all that was so clear. That is not my concern at all. It's just for people who, again, I would say 95% of people follow the mandates for the mask.
For sure.
Obviously outside of when you're eating or drinking, then people leave them. And some people I think are playing that a bit longer, like pretending they're sipping just so they don't have to do it. But to be honest, I didn't have anyone like coughing around me either. Like I didn't feel the long haul. Obviously I had a road to myself, but the intra-Europe was full. Both of those were full, but still no one was coughing around me. So we all had our masks, sanitized the area. No one was coughing. So I felt I don't feel like I really had to risk any of this trip that I could have it any more so than me going to the grocery store, going to the beach with my friends here.
Yeah, truly. So
genuinely,
with the intra-Europe flights, because the long haul you were very fortunate. I think the loads weren't as high on the aircraft, but you said is that the intra ones were a lot more heavily traveled. Were they doing the temperature checks and or did it
No,
vary?
not in Europe. That was interesting, actually. I have to say, Air Canada is really impressive.
Mm,
Like they are even the way they talk on board about COVID and their procedures.
yeah.
Boarding today in London, they had the temperature check. Like Heathrow's not doing temperature checks yet. They have signs up saying, "Oh, we're going to trial temperature checks," but they haven't. But Air Canada consistently and had the clean care consistently. BA gave you like a couple of wipes. Still better than nothing because Eurowings didn't give you anything. Um, so Air Canada are actually doing a really, really good job.
Yeah, it was impressive because they, it was a promo thing that I was on, obviously, and they were showing us the actual those electrostatic cleaners that they use, and
Yeah, that's good.
yeah, it was very cool actually just to see them kind of live and in person. The Maple Leaf Lounge, they had opened it up for our special thing just so that we could all get together and have a little. Well, they needed to have speeches and stuff because it's a promo thing, but they were planning, I don't know that they have yet, I don't think they have yet, but they're planning on opening the Maple Leaf Lounges fairly soon. So we were able to see some of the protocols that'll be in place for that, including, you walked into the bathroom, there is an attendant now in the bathroom. So as soon as you use the toilet or you use the sink, uh, after you're finished, the person goes in and cleans that area
Oh wow.
immediately after it's been used. I know. So, and I don't think that they'll bring back the food service like it was. They didn't really indicate.
Okay, self-serve is not ideal, is it?
No, so they didn't indicate exactly what they're going to do. I mean, for our thing, there were prepackaged little breakfast because we left in the morning, little breakfast bags that you could take instead of actually doing a self-serve. I imagine it'll be much like the toilet where it'll be manned. So if you want something, there's going to be an attendant who will help you out with whatever food or beverage you're looking for. But it was, again, more people around. If you sat down and you got up, someone came along and cleaned the seat that you were on, just cleaned the touch areas. So yeah, I felt much better because I
Yeah,
consider
you.
myself to be fairly high risk, uh,
Yeah,
just in terms of age, obesity, asthma,
yeah,
all of
yeah.
those kind of things.
Ticking
I
the
didn't.
boxes.
I actually felt much better after traveling. I thought I'd travel. I'd take a
Yeah,
flight.
good. That's really. Yeah, I noticed lounge-wise in London, like Plaza Premium is still closed, but they have opened the Lufthansa
Ah,
Premium Lounge now. They
okay.
have, but obviously I couldn't go in, so I couldn't see what they were doing for protocols. Um, and it is interesting actually on the holiday there's one hotel, the first hotel we stayed in for the night in Croatia before we moved to the 5-star one. It was a 4-star, and they were doing breakfast buffet, and that was the first time
Oh,
kind of since I've been out and about COVID world that I was like, oh. I
yeah.
was like, Mom, like, even though they have the sanitizer when you walk in, people were just not, they were just acting. So I was like, we waited till it quietened down. I was like, I don't feel comfortable. And it was the one day, and I didn't get up again. I got like my one plate, and that was it. And then I
Wow.
was like, thank God we're a la carte. I can't even believe they are just doing it willy nilly. I mean, they had little signs, but people don't care. Everyone's there leaning over and then grabbing the glasses. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
That was the only the one day, but the rest
Well,
is,
but Croatia also has been very good, obviously,
yeah,
with low. But that people get lulled into this false sense of security, which I think is unfortunate. What I noticed too, outbound on our flight, because like I said, it was promo. Um, it, I didn't notice the mask issue until the return flight. And what happened on the return flight was we were delayed. So we were
yeah, I saw that.
yeah,
Storm.
we were supposed to get home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on whatever day that was, Wednesday, and I think that I got off the plane at 7:15. So we had about a three and some half hour delay in Edmonton. So of course, which it was nice, they let us deplane, probably because it was a bunch of travel agents. So they let us deplane, and of course, 100 travel agents immediately walked to the nearest bar, which was kind of kitty corner from the gate, because hello, we're travel industry people. The guy, there was two people working the bar. He was just completely, you could see his eyes were like saucers. He was kind of like, holy shit. All these people kind of swamped him. So they only had room to seat within the actual restaurant. I'm going to say a dozen people because they have to be socially distanced and all
Yeah.
that. But he was fabulous. his coworker took care of the people within the restaurant, and then the rest of 90 people who were lined up, he just came out and he said, okay, I can take 4 orders at a time. I'll take the 4 orders. I'll go make your drinks. I'll bring you back your drinks. And then you could sit anywhere in the airport. So we were all able to kind of sit around the gate
Oh,
areas. We didn't have to sit anywhere near
with
the
your
restaurant.
glasses, wine glasses,
Yeah,
or whatever. Oh,
that,
how funny!
I
I'm
know.
not sure if that's normal or if that's just they're letting you do
Well,
it.
he said the bar was licensed for anywhere in the airport. He said, yeah, we can actually serve alcohol and you can go anywhere in the airport. Not that you go too far, but at least you didn't have to try and stay in that immediate area around the restaurant. So that was great. I got a big glass of wine and I sat down away from people and, answered emails and stuff like that. But I think and of course, because it was an Air Canada promo flight, the guy from Air Canada was like, here's my credit card. Just let them charge whatever they
Oh,
want to charge. Yeah, I
very
know. So
nice.
that was nice. Well, that was
I'm sure Brent. I saw Brendan at the bar picture. I'm sure they all took advantage.
so well. It's funny though. Brent and Sonia went out, so they weren't actually not in the Air Canada group. They have to pay for their own.
Oh, because they went to a
That
different.
was
They went to like
they went
Chili's
out.
or
They went
something.
out to Chili's. Yeah, and I know. And I was texting him, going, "Dude, like they're giving away free food here, like or drink.
Drink,
You might
yeah.
as well come down here." Anyway, they didn't. So so on the return flight, I think some people had quite a few drinks, and I think that's why the mask wearing was not quite as
Oh my
ideal.
God, so unprofessional though. You're on like a work flight.
It's also, I think that's indicative. When they talk about why are they not doing drink service, I think there's a
Yeah.
reason, especially on long hauls, why that actually might not be a good idea to do drink service, because people get loosey goosey, right? When they start having a few beverages. That's what I wanted to ask you. Are we the only people on?
Oh wait,